Hello from a barbecue place in Austin, Texas called Terry Black's. And it is 9:20 at night on a Thursday. And I'm sitting in a, what do you call this? A restaurant booth with the original gangster coach of Project 90, Kevin Schouweiler, and the current OG, not original gangster, but the crowd favorite, Victoria English. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, James.
Hello, Kevin.
Hey, James.
So between us, we've got close to 2 decades of sobriety or being alcohol-free living here. Kevin coached Project 90 clients and my clients for about 5 or 6 years. Victoria's been doing it for almost a year, I think. Is that right?
That is correct.
And we've just had a beef brisket steak barbecue. Apologies to vegans. And it is the eve. Thank you. Yeah, if you could take it away, it'd be great. It's the eve of our annual wellness event, which we're having at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in downtown Austin, which overlooks Lady Bird Lake. Is that right? Lady Bird Lake? I think it is. Yeah, Lady Bird Lake. And we're pretty full. Victoria says that she's stuffed. Are you okay?
I'm very full.
Yes.
In a food coma.
And we're drinking. What are we drinking, Victoria?
Nice, cold, crisp Pellegrino.
Exactly. So we've just had a wonderful steak dinner, and we're drinking Pellegrino. And how are you feeling, Kevin? You good?
I'm feeling full and good.
Okay, good. When was the last time you drank, Kevin?
It's been over 13 years, and James, I think I have you by a few months, so yeah. I think I'm the oldest in the alcohol-free path at the table at the moment. But it's been about 13 and a half years.
When was the last time you remember having a drink in a bar like this or a restaurant? If you can think about that. It was more than 13 years ago. Do you remember the last time?
I do, yeah. In fact, I was in Hawaii. I went on a vacation. I had some friends that were renting a place for a month out in Hawaii, out in Maui. And I showed up, and I had thought to myself, we'll just see how this goes. I was kind of flirting with the idea of alcohol-free. I've been doing it for a while. I was like, I wonder how long it's going. And then I had done it I was about 4 months alcohol-free, and I went out. And the last time I had a drink at a bar, I was in Hawaii. And so this is after 4 months alcohol-free. And my friends are like ordering drinks, and I'm thinking about having a drink, and I'm thinking about it more. And as soon as they come out with the drinks for my friends, I'm like, give me one of what those guys are having. And they're like, are you sure? You said you had like 4 months. I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to do anything. And fast forward 4 days into the trip, and I'd forgotten what I did with my wallet the night before. I had to walk home because I couldn't call a cab. And so I'm on day 5 having the worst hangover ever. And I was like, I think this 4 months thing I was doing is much better than how I'm feeling now. And that was the last time I touched a drink. I said, I think this little trip was enough for me to figure out, I think going back to this thing wasn't a move that's good for me now. I'll just keep it going. And I haven't looked back. Yeah. But I remember going out, and I remember taking that first drink after having like 4 months at a bar, and it was noisy, and I remember thinking like, I don't even know if this tastes that good.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, I'm doing the motions, but in my mind it was more pleasurable than what the actual beer was that they came back with. And I think it was some local thing. They had some local beer that was brewed in Maui. It's supposed to be really great. And I kept thinking to myself, like, am I really doing this right now? So That was the last time I had one at a bar.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks for sharing that. Victoria, when was the last time you had a drink in a restaurant or a bar like this that you can recall? Or when was the last drink that you remember having?
Oh, goodness. Well, the drink in a restaurant it's sad but true, but it always gets a chuckle. It was after I had completed cancer treatment, and I had quit drinking before cancer. Obviously did not drink during treatment. Thought I would never touch this stuff again. But as happens with people when you have experienced physical or emotional trauma, if alcohol is your default, it is not unlikely that you might return to it, self-medicate. And so I think I told you once, James, if I ever write a book, it's going to be called A Bald Lady Walks Into a Bar.
A bald lady walks into a bar. Okay.
Because I went wearing my bald head with a little hat on it to Quality Italian, where I had heard they had the most amazing martinis with blue cheese stuffed olives. And I decided that I deserved one of those. And 3 martinis later, I went home. I felt absolutely miserable. My body was not accustomed to alcohol anymore. I felt just sick and looked, of course, just terrible. And I woke up the next day and I thought, okay, that's enough of that. That's ridiculous. I'm not doing that again. But I also realized that I had some stuff I needed to untangle to really break free of alcohol. And so that's when I sat down to do the work, to really put this thing behind me. And my health is now fully restored. I've never been happier. I don't have moodiness or bouts of the blues or anything like that. I feel fantastic.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Well, my last drink was here, actually, in Austin, Texas.
No way.
Yeah, March 10th, 2010. So I'm back in the very place where I had my last drink, and I was at the South by Southwest Music Festival. It was also an interactive festival, not just music festival, but tech stuff, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think they called it interactive. But I had 2 gin and tonics at an industry party on a Friday night. Didn't get drunk, but just had 2 gin and tonics. And I was staying in a hotel about 15 minutes north of Austin. Went back, went to sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, I just felt blah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a terrible hangover, but it was just kind of like, ugh. And I remember I looked in the mirror, and I noticed the bags under my eyes and the crow's feet wrinkles starting to form. I'd put on some weight, like I was probably 20 to 25 pounds heavier than what I should have been. I was probably 200 pounds. I'm about 185 now. I was probably like 205 pounds, to be honest. So I had that kind of like puffy face. And I went next door to an IHOP, which is like International House of Pancakes, which was adjacent to the hotel. And I walked in about 9:30 in the morning, and I sat down. It was a really cold, overcast, dreary kind of day. And the IHOP was right next to a freeway, so the view outside of the window was of a freeway with cars going. And the menu for the IHOP had these photos of pancakes of whipped cream and bacon and eggs, and they're big, bold, bright colors. And I was like, ugh, this doesn't look good. And I looked around, and some of the people that were sitting there in the IHOP eating breakfast were eating the all-you-can-eat pancakes. And I don't want to be like overly critical, but let's just say that the people who were in IHOP didn't look particularly healthy. And I was just sitting there at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I just feel so mediocre and average. I wasn't rock bottom, I just felt very average.
Exactly.
And so I just looked out the window at that beautiful scene of the freeway and the overcast skies, and I said, I think I'm going to take a break from alcohol for 30 days. And bear in mind, I'm at an event, South by Southwest, where there are free parties, where there's open bars. So to commit to this on a Saturday morning, when I'm only just started with this festival, when I'm planning on being there at least 4 or 5 nights, that's a pretty big commitment.
It is.
But I just committed and said, I'm just going to go 30 days without alcohol. So I went out that night and I drank water. I went out the next night, I drank water. It was challenging in the sense that there were open bars, but I was surprised that I could handle it. And then after 30 days, I'd realized I'd lost 13 and a half pounds. Like I dropped 13 and a half, it just fell off me. I slept better, had more energy, I started to look better. And I thought, I'll just keep going and see what happens. So I got to 40 days, then 50. Then I said, I'll do 3 months. And I just kept getting to the next goal and reassessing and realizing that, I feel good, I look good. At the time, I landed my dream job, which was hosting SportsCenter on ESPN. And I credit being alcohol-free and having that clarity to helping me get that job. And I just went, I'm just going to keep going. And then I got to a year. I was back in Austin, back here at the South by Southwest Festival. And I went to a place that I don't think exists anymore. It was called the Luster Pearl Bar on Rainey Street. And I went up and I ordered a Bud Light. And I went to drink the beer to celebrate a year alcohol-free. And at the last moment, I put it to my lips and I kind of smelt it. And admittedly, it did smell pretty good.
Yeah.
But I was like, hang on a second. I've just had probably the best year of my life so far in terms of health, career, relationships. And I just put the beer down and changed my mind. And I said, just take it back. Give me a water, ice, and a piece of lime instead. And I literally haven't picked up a drink since. Unless, of course, I'm doing a marketing video, playing around, pretending to drink.
Yes.
That was that was 2011, March 10, 2011. That was the year. And what are we now? We're in 2022. So that was the last drink I had. And I keep saying to people, I've had a life with alcohol and a life without, and a life without is way better. Would you agree with that, Kevin?
1,000%. 1,000%.
And why is it for you?
I just look at so before, like you mentioned, it was just like, the hangover wasn't like, oh, I gotta do something. It was like, you're just kind of blah, it's just like average.
Yeah.
And I think about it like, I could move towards some progress, but I'm carrying this ball and chain that kind of keeps it from really going all out. And then when you remove it, I'll still move towards those things that are really great, whether it's like things in career or relationships or health or even just like personal development. And I just don't have this added weight that's holding me back. So, and I find that even like 13 years in, people ask me all the time, they're like, isn't it boring? Or like, after the first year, it's like, is this all there is? And I'm kind of like, actually, no, not really, because now I have this thing that's out of the way. So every time I want to move towards progress, now I don't have this thing holding me back. It's like if you want to go swimming, why wear a weighted vest unless you're training for the Marines, which in this case wasn't really going to be the case with the alcohol. Instead, I'm training to be like average. I'm training to be like 70% of what I could be. And so with it out of the way, and then also I think about like my relationships. I'm actually present. I have far more emotional awareness of what's going on in my relationships. Then I think about my time. I get so much more freedom back with the time and where it can be directed to. And so sure, like, have I thought about alcohol? I've had thoughts about it. But immediately the conversation comes up of like, okay, well, I could have a moment of whatever the fuzzy state is, or that, whatever that thing is. But that moment in time is going to pass, and then there's going to be all the extra, weighted stuff that like fuzzy in the morning, or just kind of average, or like I'm waiting for the weekends. And all my time's devoted around. So I just think about, when you ask me time before and time after, I have like so much more positive. It's like not even a comparison.
Yeah, and it sounds like you don't feel like you're depriving yourself of something that most of society would deem one of life's pleasures. It doesn't seem like you're depriving yourself of that.
Somebody was just asking me about this before. It wasn't about alcohol, but I was like, it's kind of the same thing applies. It's like they had like a sweet tooth, okay? And so they're like, Kevin, New Year, I want to do like something with the sweet tooth. And they're looking at the sweet tooth as in like I'm having dessert, and the dessert is pleasure. And I've trained my brain that dessert is pleasure. But if you talk to someone that's like they've taken out sweets, they're working out, they're eating green stuff, or they're eating clean foods. At the beginning, it's boring. You're like, oh, I got to do a workout in the morning. Oh, I got to eat green stuff. And eventually, your brain kind of shifts, and all of a sudden, you're craving the green, salad that's fresh and vibrant, or you can't wait for the workout. And it was kind of like that with the alcohol. It's like I used to like look at that as pleasure, and now it's like all the other stuff, like a great night's sleep, or energy throughout the day that's more sustained. I'm not trying to pour 3 cups of coffee to get me going. Like that's where. So your mind shifts over time around what really is pleasure.
Yeah.
After you get like a reset, you know what I'm saying?
And Victoria, I was saying before, I've had a life with alcohol and without is way better. Has that been your experience? And if so, how?
I'm going to top Kevin and say 100,000%. Absolutely. Sometimes with our members, I'll liken alcohol to a high school relationship. It was fun, you had some good times, you made good memories, but it ended for a reason. You evolved, you changed, you have new chapters in your life. And so if you're driving down the road and you hear a song that you dance to with your prom date, you can certainly reminisce and recognize that you had some good times together. Do you throw away your current life and go hunt down that high school crush and re-engage with them? No. And why don't you? Because you've created a life that is wonderful without them. And it sounds funny, but everyone usually nods their head in agreement, because if you can personify alcohol, and if you even say, if you had a friend who encouraged you to betray your values, if they asked you to spend a lot of money you shouldn't be spending, if they caused you to lie to your friends and family, if they actively damaged your significant relationships with your partner or spouse or children or friends, if they cost you that promotion, would you keep that friend in your life, that so-called friend? I call alcohol the frenemy. Would you keep that person around? And they say, well, oh God, no. So why are we keeping alcohol around? It's because society has taught us that it's a reward. It's something we need, first of all, the message that we are not strong enough to endure life without it is really selling ourselves short. And that's just putting money in the marketers' pockets. So once you challenge the beliefs that you've been fed about alcohol, and you see the absurdity of it all, it becomes it makes the choice so much easier. And also understanding that thoughts of alcohol and maybe a craving for alcohol is going to happen. But lots of things happen. It doesn't mean that as adults we go and act on them. We observe them, we feel them, and then we watch them pass, because we value our time, our money, our relationships, our health. And so there's no reason to let alcohol call the shots in those very important areas of life.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Kevin and Victoria. I'm feeling pretty tired. I'm ready to go home to bed. And I know that when I wake up in the morning, after, let's say, 7 to 8 hours sleep, I'm going to feel the way that nature intended me to feel when I wake up in the morning, without regretting having even just a couple of cheeky beers the night before, because we've just knocked back a Pellegrino sparkling natural mineral water each. And we had a good steak dinner. And then we're going to go to sleep, and we'll wake up hopefully nice and fresh, right?
Nice and fresh.
And you're
weightlifting.
You're leading a Pilates group in the ground floor of the Hyatt Regency at what time tomorrow?
7:30 a.m.
7:30, yeah. Awesome. And so by the time you're listening to this podcast episode, we would have already completed our wellness weekend. But what are you talking on tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow I am speaking about achieving long-term power over alcohol and power over self-judgment.
Amazing. And we've got our Project 90 clients have flown in from around the country to attend tomorrow. Where do they come from, our clients?
We have California, Oregon, Florida, New York, Texas, I think Georgia.
I definitely know the ones from California, because they come in wearing the mask and keeping it on for a while.
Exactly.
This is no commentary on whether to wear the mask or not, but I was in California last week, and the mask mandates there are a lot stricter than they are here in the state of Texas.
And they're also shivering.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And what's your talk tomorrow, Kevin?
So I'll be talking on a very simple tactic called the doorway, which looks at pain and pleasure responses and how we use pain and pleasure to drive our behaviors unconsciously, and how we can take back that intentionally so we can choose habits that serve us.
Awesome, I love it. So if you're listening, you'll likely hear both Victoria and Kevin's talk on the podcast and a future episode, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you for listening, and great meal, guys. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you, James and Kevin.
All right, let's go home, get a good night's sleep, and get ready to start day one of our conference tomorrow. To you, the listener, see you later. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I want to load you up with some free stuff. If you look in the show description, there's a link there to get my guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide. And in that guide, I will walk you through the process and system for successfully reducing or quitting alcohol. It's the same system and process that I give to my clients inside of Project 90. And if you would like to get your hands on that guide, you can click the link in the description part of this episode, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. guide. Likewise, if you would like to be considered for Project 90 to join our community and get some accountability, some coaching and have fun, achieve some goals over at least 90 days with our help and support, then you're invited to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description or going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Now, Project 90 is for over 30s only, and it's really for people who are ready to get long-term power over alcohol. You don't have to quit forever, but you will have to quit for at least 90 days with our support. Just a reminder, 95% of my content is free and plastered all over the internet. If you just Google James Swanwick and the word alcohol, you'll find that. For those of you who want additional support, if you want coaching, fun, accountability, if you realize that you can't do this on your own or you just plain don't want to, then I invite you to schedule that call and we can talk about if Project 90 is for you. If you would like to take some of my supplements, swanvitality.com is the website. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. I have a liver support product called Loving Liver, which I designed and specially formulated to help remove toxins from your liver after years of alcohol consumption. Again, there's a link in the show description. We've also got a green powder there, which turns into a green juice filled with amazing ingredients to support you and give you energy throughout the day. And there's also a magnesium product, which I take every night to help me prepare for sleep and to sleep through the night. So there's a few options there. Lastly, if this episode or the show in general has helped you or supported you in any way, I would so appreciate it if you would write a review. It really does help the show climb the rankings and expose the show to people who don't yet know about us. So if this show has benefited you in any way and you feel compelled to pay it forward, just writing a short little review, hopefully a nice one, will be so appreciated and I will thank you immensely. Lastly, if you'd like to talk to me about anything at all, feel free to send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I do read and respond to every email. And you can also follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Send me a message there. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Catch you on the next one.